Primetime Sports with Scott Alexander is underwritten by Task Performance.
Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovich family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans.
Fall in love with autumn with PJ's new seasonal lattes. Our pumpkin latte brings you all the flavors of a pumpkin pie with hints of cinnamon and nutmeg, like your favorite holiday dessert in a cup. And our s'mores latte with flavors of toasted marshmallows, warm milk chocolate, and graham cracker cinnamon is sure to bring back campfire memories. The PJ's Fall Seasonal Lattes, available at your local PJ's only for a limited time.
Hey New Orleans, get ready for some rugby. There's a new pro sports team in town, and it's NOLA Gold, bringing world-class rugby to the Crescent City. The game is fast, the hits are hard, the fan experience is for real. Season tickets, lifetime tickets, and game day passes are all available at nolagoldrugby.com. I'm John Goodman, and I'll see you in the scrum.
So here's the bottom line. Well, it's funny that you say that. Let me tell you. Good evening and welcome to Primetime Sports. Hey, I'm your host, Scott Alexander, and this is the dog days, the stretch run of the football season on all levels. How about this? The Saints. Well, they have 4 games left after that big loss to the Cowboys on Thursday night. Don't worry about that. That's just one loss to a fired-up team in a night game. But they now, as you know, need to get a little help in that home field advantage situation. The Saints really need the Rams to lose another game, and next week they play at Chicago, the Rams do, in Soldier Field. That is the best opportunity for the Saints to get back even, which means they would have the tiebreaker. Congrats to the Cowboys. They deserve that win. They played well. But moving forward to college, how about the bowl matchups locally? LSU, well, they get the big bowl bid that they were hoping for, but they need a little help this week. Remember I told you last week that either Texas or Northwestern would probably have to lose to get that New Year's Six bowl. Well, both of them lost in their championship game, so LSU gets in, but they have to go against a team that's got a 25-game win streak and a huge chip on their shoulder, the UCF Golden Knights. The Knights, man, they had that mythical championship last year. They were upset because they're a small team that didn't get to the championship playoffs. Well, they have a new coach this year, Josh Heupel. He went undefeated. They're going to be a tough out because they beat Auburn last year because they wanted to prove that they could beat Big Brother, and they want to do it to LSU. Trust me, LSU is playing for the rest of the nation to squash this 25-game win streak so we don't have to hear from UCF every single day. Hey, by the way, Tulane Green Wave, I couldn't be happier for this bunch. They play the UL Raging Cajuns. How about that? A rematch of a bowl just about 5 years ago. Last time Tulane was in a bowl, they lost at the end of the game on a missed field goal. But these two teams played a 4-overtime game recently, a couple of years back. Tulane won that one in a regular season game, and that was exciting. And you know how much I love the high school football level. I've got JT Curtis right here coming, the great coach, the second all-time winningest coach in all levels of football. Well, they're going to play Catholic, and they lost that championship last year. Lots of great matchups. Carr, Warren Easton. You got St. Thomas More going against the powerhouse U-High Cubs in that one, and also 5A's got Zachary and West Monroe and all the other 5 there. It's got some great matchups. Hey, by the way, I'd be remiss not to mention Nichols. They went to the second round of the playoffs in the first time in 32 years they've been in the playoffs, and they end up losing that game. So their season over. Job well done. Staying with football, Jalen Hurts. How about the redemption story we saw Saturday night? College football has not seen too many things like this. SEC Player of the Year gets benched in the championship game last year at halftime. His replacement, Tua Tagovailoa, comes in and stars. Hurts loses his job. Tua gets hurt in this game against Georgia. He comes in, throws the game-tying pass. They hadn't had the lead the entire game. He scores on the game-winning run, and it is a great, great story. Ohio State did not get in, but Bama, Oklahoma, and Clemson and Notre Dame are all in. And Urban Meyer has just resigned and retired. And he will retire after the Rose Bowl. Mike McCarthy is fired from the Packers. And locally, the Pelicans. What about these Pelicans? They're up and down. They beat Charlotte on Sunday, but they lost last night in a tight one to the Clippers. They'll get back together. Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, they went into a crazy championship bout, ended in a draw. But we have Roderic Teamer from Tulane coming here next. Ben Love coming all the way in from Lafayette. And also, like I just mentioned, JT Curtis next on Primetime Sports.
I believe in the spirit of rock and roll and the eternal strength of the immortal soul. Cause sometimes everybody's gotta let it go. I believe in the power of love. I believe that we're never really all alone. There's so much more than anything we're shown. New Orleans is always gonna be my home. I believe in the power of love. I believe.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. I told you this would be a little bit of a different show again because we're hitting football on all levels. Not as much Saints today because this is that week of every year in December when the state championships are played in the Dome. There's 9 of them this week. I mentioned that in the open. Well, one of the big ones is the Division I. That's the private school sector, the Catholic schools, all the big ones. We're going to talk about all those levels, meaning 5A, 4A, Division II, Division I, next with Ben Love. But right now, I have the head coach for one of the teams in the Division I championship. You know his name well. It's JT Curtis. Get this. He's in his 50th year coaching, and he looks like he's not even 50 years old. I don't know how this even works. But the man has won 26 state championships, 13 completely undefeated seasons, national champions in 2012. He'll tell you he had better champions in 2006, maybe even his first one back in 75. But all they've done is win. They've won 10 games or more, 43 of the last 44 years. Are you kidding me? I could go on and on and on. Back-to-back losses is hardly ever happens, if ever. And 3, forget about that. That's never going to happen. But they do win, and they do it the right way. I'm going to say this. The way he treats his players and the way he loves his players, it's all about family. And it's all about being one together, and there's nobody epitomizes it more than this guy right here. It's an honor for me to have you again. I know this is not your first or even your second time on the show, but I truly love every time you come.
Well, I appreciate that. We enjoy the show and enjoy the variety of the show, and I know it's a show that emphasizes a lot of pro ball, but you know, the bottom line is these high school kids deserve this opportunity to play in the Louisiana Superdome. You know, I tell people all the time, we don't always do things right in Louisiana, but building that Superdome was one of the best things we've ever done.
Yeah.
And to give these kids an opportunity to play in a facility like that, in a venue like the LHSAA state champions in the Sugar Bowl that does their part and helps sponsoring it, has really made a difference in a lot of kids' lives.
It's a big weekend.
Huge.
And you have a matchup. Before I get into this matchup, because it's a big one, and you lost to this team last year, Gabe Fertitta, a young gun coach, who was on the show after he beat you, and he said, wow, I couldn't even believe I was on the other sideline from you, much less winning the game. And you know, he was like, wow, what a great honor for me. But the fact is, this is your 50th year. Mm-hmm. I mean, take yourself back that first year. You were 21 years old.
Yeah, I you know, so far back, I can't remember that. What I do remember is we were 0-10. And if you count the Jamboree, we were 0-11.
And you only scored 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns, yeah. And I remember both of those too.
That's a crazy stat.
And I thought maybe I need to get into sports broadcasting or something, maybe selling insurance. This isn't working out the way I thought it was going to. But you know, I came from a family that taught us how to work, taught us how to persevere, taught us not to let the circumstances control you, but you control your circumstances. We went to work and were able to put some things together, and 50 years later, it seems like it's been 5, to be honest.
I remember I used to go to day camps all over the city, all the ones uptown at the private schools, but I went one year for sports out to y'all. I must have been like 12, 11, something like that. And I got to know your dad. Mm-hmm. I've been to your dad's house. I mean, back in the day. I mean, guys, we're talking about the mid-'70s. And I know the family tree. Family's so important to you. Your son Jeff's on the staff. Johnny was on the staff forever. Right. Obviously, you have your son-in-law on the staff. You have your nephews on the staff. You have your brother on the staff. It's all about family, but it's all about just caring about others, isn't it?
It really is, and that's what permeates through our program and through our school. We've always felt like, being a Christian school, that it's really simple. That what we do is we serve others. We in fact serve God. That's His creation. We have a responsibility to do the best we can to take care of them, to mentor them, to be there in time of need, and we try to feel the same way about our program. That doesn't mean that you win because you're a Christian. It doesn't mean you win because you're a family. You win because you have kids that are talented, that are committed. You win because you have coaches that are very competent, that work hard, and are dedicated and committed to the program.
You know, I was living in Atlanta for years, and we did a national recruiting show, so I knew the guy that has the most wins. I mean, he's from, I think, somewhere in South Carolina, Summerfield. Or
John McKissick.
McKissick,
right.
And older guy.
Yeah.
And I just watched him keep winning games, and then I was keeping an eye on my hometown, on you, because I was over there for 20 years, and I'm like, JT keeps winning every year. I wonder if he'll ever have a chance to catch, because McKissick didn't look like he was retiring anytime soon at the time. But now you're like only like 30 wins away, I believe, something like that. You're at 591, and this is the most wins of all time on all levels. I'm talking about the NFL. We're talking about where they play more games. We're talking about college football. I mean, have you ever sat back and just let this sink in?
You know, I didn't realize that until somebody else pointed it out to me, and that certainly is a great thing to have in your resume, if you want.
I would say so.
But the bottom line is, and you know this, Scott, you're only going to be successful as the people that are with you.
No doubt.
And you're only
No
going to
doubt.
be as successful as the people that support your program. And so, you know, I get too much credit for that stuff sometimes. It really goes back to those guys that have worked so hard and those players that have bought into what we try to do and have committed themselves. And so there's a lot of credit that needs to go around for that, and I am very humbled by it.
243 game win streaks. I mean, that alone, I'm just like 2 times your team had 43 game win streaks. I mean, and here's the thing, you stepped it up also. Here, John Curtis has a certain number of students, so you're
Right.
getting placed in a classification by your student size. So, but you guys, when they had this whole thing with the LHSAA, when they switched to 5A, 4A, and I don't need to get into that because we did that on the show last year. But the fact is, you had a chance to go to a smaller classification because of the size of your school.
Right.
You said, no, I want to step up and play the Catholic League every year, play the big boys. What went into that decision, and are you glad you did it?
No question. First of all, it's a tremendous league. It's the best run league I've ever been in. The quality of the people that are at these schools that run their program for their kids has really contributed to us and our program, both in our boys and our girls programs and all the sports.
Yeah.
And so it's really been a benefit for us to be there. We've enjoyed the competition, and it is competitive every week without a question, but it has really been good for us, and I hope good for them also.
On the spot, and I know you've heard it before, but when you think of, my goodness, like this one game, win or loss, what's the most memorable one for you?
Well, you know, maybe the first win. Just
The first one, year 2. They went 8-2, by the way, in year 2 after 0-10.
getting that first win. But, you know, I think people point to the Hoover game probably in 2006. Yeah.
Because they're like number 1 in the country.
Yeah, they're
right?
number 1 in the
Yeah.
country. They had this big television program,
Alabama.
2-a-days, and all of that business going on. And we get in that game and we fall down 14-0. And the commentators were saying, well, this little school out of River Edge, out of Louisiana, when it was all over, we had 28 and they had 14, and that was a really big deal. But to be honest with you,
Was that game there?
yeah, it was at Hoover. It was at Met Stadium.
Near Birmingham, right, okay.
That's where they played, and
Yeah.
it was packed. It was over, I think,
Oh, they packed the
12,000
house,
people
yeah,
there.
yeah.
They packed it. But to be honest with you, every game that you win is special to the kids that play. And whether it's this year's championship or next year's game or the game 20 years ago, to those kids, that was the game. That was the season. And so I've always looked at it that way. Let's do the best we can for today and make this a memorable occasion for these kids.
Coach, I play a lot of sports, and the wins are great, and we had mostly wins in most of the sports, but the ones I remember the most were the tough losses.
Yeah.
And I know you've had 2 in the Dome in the last 5 years. Well, let's say the last 4 years, last 5 seasons. 2014, it was against Jesuit. 2017, it was against the team you're playing this week, Catholic. Do those stick to you still? Because
Sure.
as a competitor, those are the ones you just like, gosh, I
Well,
can't.
those are the ones you go back and say, what could I have done better? You know, you don't second guess yourself. I tell people, look, you want to help me? Give me a play 25 seconds before the ball snapped, not 25 seconds after.
Right.
I don't need any advice then. I need it before it snapped.
Exactly.
But what you try to do is you go back in your mind and you think about, what could we have done better? How could I have coached this team better? How could I have made them more responsible or more accountable for their actions on the field? Because once we cross the white line, Scott, the players are in charge now. It's their game. And so your job is to get everything in order before that game kicks off. And at that point, it's up to the players. And my responsibility is to try to do the best I can to get those guys in a position to win.
As far as the game this weekend, a year ago, literally the week after, just a few days after Catholic won that championship against y'all, Gabe Fertitta sat here. And you've seen Dale Weiner for years coach that Catholic team. He finally got that championship where Fertitta was an assistant several years back against Rummel. And then they beat y'all. What do you see from this young guy? Because I want to kind of talk about this particular game. What do you see in him as a young coach?
Well, first of all, he had a great mentor. Dale Weiner was a great mentor.
He was.
Dale Weiner did a great job with Catholic High. And what Coach Fertitta has done is just taken it and improved it. And that's what you should do. He's a young guy. He brought in some new ideas and new thoughts. They're fundamentally a very sound football team. They have a great coaching staff, and they have a lot of tradition. I think the place to go in Baton Rouge if you want to be a really good football, basketball, baseball, track program, you go to Catholic High.
Yeah.
So they have excellent athletes, and they do a good job coaching them.
What do you see in this game this week as far as what you need to do to get the victory?
We need to try to, as in all games, minimize mistakes.
Yes.
Minimize mistakes. Play well in the special teams. Try to minimize penalties. And I hope in a game like this, the game is monitored by the officials but not dominated by them. Let the kids play ball. There are going to be some calls that are close or questionable. Let those things go. Let the kids play. Just monitor the game and let it play out that way. And if we do that, I think both teams can walk off feeling good about what they've done. With Catholic High, we've got to keep their offense off the field if possible, because they have scored points against everybody they've played. They've won a lot of very close games. They beat Zachary High, who was in a 5A championship. So they're a team that you're going to have to make sure you take care of your business, or you're going to find yourself on the losing end of the score.
In closing, what's the difference in football in Louisiana from 1969 to 2018?
With the kids, I don't think there's anything. We got some outside problems with the social media and a lot of interference from outside people.
Right.
But what kids wanted are the same things they wanted in 1969. They want to know that you care about them. They want to know that you love them. They want to know that you're going to discipline them, even they don't always like that. They want to know that they are part of a team. See, I believe that's what kids really look for. They want to be a team. That's what gangs are. That's what the colors are with gangs. It's a team concept. And so I think that what kids want to do is be a part of something positive, and I hope we can give that to them.
Well, I love the fact that for 27 of your 50 years, you have finished your game. You've put on another outfit and gone down to with Ed Daniels, done the Friday Night Football show. It's just awesome. And I love your regimen, man. And you got your wonderful wife, Lydia. You got to take her to this meal. Please take her uptown to Shays de la Shays.
Oh, yeah, great.
Okay, that's not the de la Shays on St. Charles. This is the one on Maple.
On Maple.
Between Carrollton and Broadway. Take her over there, enjoy it. Have you ever had a Task shirt on your body?
What?
A Task performance shirt. He's like, Task on my body?
You mean a workout?
Feel that, though.
Yeah, oh, geez. Yeah.
I mean,
that is beautiful.
Am I giving JT Curtis his first Task? Seriously? Oh,
I don't know. They hand them to me and I'll wear Task shirts.
But feel how soft that one is.
That's great, man.
Dude, you're never going to wear anything else, I promise
and
you.
my wife will appreciate this more.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the week of your big game.
Thank you, buddy. We
Man,
appreciate
50
y'all.
years. This is a legend. And you know what? He's a legend that's so approachable. He's one of the great guys. I see him in restaurants, and he's like, come on over here, Scotty. Arno's, whatever. Anyway, it's great to see you again.
Good to see you.
Hey, we're not done yet. Later in the show, we're going to have a former brother Martin Starr, defensive back, Rod Teamer from Tulane. He's going bowling for the first time in his career. Congrats to the Tulane Greenway. But next, we're going to talk all about the rest of the high school championship games. The U-Highs, the Zacharys, the Cars. Obviously, the other great teams, Easton, I can go on and on, but we're going to talk about that with Ben Love. But he's also going to talk about the Bowls, the teams in South Louisiana that got there. of course, there's LSU. We're going to talk about that game against UCF in the Fiesta Bowl. And, of course, the other game is going to be Tulane and UL Lafayette Raging Cajuns. It's UL Raging Cajuns these days. Hey, coming back right here on Primetime Sports.
Primetime Sports with Scott Alexander is underwritten by Task Performance.
The owners of the Delachaise Wine Bar on St. Charles Avenue have opened up their newest creation uptown on Maple Street called Chez Delachaise, a new local wine bistro featuring a larger menu of small and large plates, a brighter atmosphere, and full table service. Additionally, patrons can enjoy a large patio out front as well as an extensive wine list offering selections from around the world. It's Chez Delachaise, 7708 Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock and roll. At Mid-City Lanes, the home of rock and roll.
Embracing New Orleans soul with style in fashion wear from NOLAshirts.com. Show off your love for one of America's unique cities with shirts, belts, and hats in a variety of colors and styles. NOLAshirts.com proudly celebrates the culture and embodies the spirit and determination of people from the Crescent City. The tradition lives on at NOLAshirts.com.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. How about that NOLA shirts? Perfect for Christmas. Those little fleur-de-lis. They're not big. They're nice and small with a little NOLA underneath. Man, what a great Christmas idea. Check them out, NOLAshirts.com. Hey, we're coming back. It is Primetime Sports. I really enjoyed that segment just now with Coach JT Curtis. What a legend he is. And coming up next, don't forget, Rod Teamer from Brother Martin, now a Tulane football star. He is getting ready to play in a bowl. Well, and that's one of the reasons I have my next guest. One of my favorite guys in this state. His name is Ben Love. He's on the radio in Lafayette. I'm a frequent guest of his show, but this is the second time he's made the trip. 2 hours he came into New Orleans to come on this show. He's got to drive back 2 more hours later on. He's got to do his own show. But here he is again, Ben Love. What's up, my friend?
Good to be back. Appreciate you having me, Scott.
Like I always say, I know you get tired of hearing it, but you got some of the best pipes in the business. I thought Tim Brando had good voice, but you got some great ones yourself.
Well, look, happy to be here. I got to follow a legend in JT Curtis, so we'll roll the ball out and have some fun.
How about that, dude? Second most wins of all time.
Yeah.
Any level, NFL, high school, college. He had 13 undefeated seasons. Hey, by the way, you came in from Lafayette, and they're playing the hometown team here, Tulane, in the Cure Bowl in Orlando. That's literally just a little over a week from now. The first year for Billy Napier, coaching the Raging Cajuns. What's your thought on how he did this season?
I think it's been a success. And when you look at what they're installing with the program offensively, that's his baby.
Yeah.
And that's what he did at Arizona State. So he brings in Rob Sale, former LSU player, as his OC, but he calls the plays. And he's developed Andre Nunez at quarterback. Wait until he gets his own guys and starts to cook with that recipe to get that gumbo working. They've got Chandler Fields from right here at Archbishop Rummel coming in.
Right.
And defensively with Ron Roberts, who you know is at Southeastern.
Sure, yeah, that's right.
They're doing some things over there. 7-5 in year one, winning the Sun Belt West. It's a big deal, and they're taking good strides.
Yeah, and Ron Roberts actually had great success as head coach of Southeastern. He's been on this show. I thought that was a huge gift for Napier. Napier's got the background. I know he cut some teeth at Clemson, and then he obviously had a run with Saban at Alabama. I mean, this guy's got the resume for sure to take this job at such a young age.
And he's got upward mobility. The Cajuns, they hope they have this problem, right? In 3 to 4 years, can we keep him?
Right.
And we mentioned getting Ron Roberts over. How about this fun fact? One of the guys that came up under his tree, Dave Aranda. And so you know this guy knows defense. If he can coach up a guy like Aranda to do what he's doing, impressive.
Well, does he ever talk about the Bama experience with Saban? Because we all hear about the situations he has with coaches. Some of it not very good, like Lane Kiffin. Did he ever mention with you, I know you know him fairly well from covering him, anything about his time with Nick?
Pretty regularly, and he speaks of him highly. I mean, honestly, it's one of those things where his father and Saban, I think, were his two biggest role models in coaching, and he doesn't mind telling you that. I'll give you another fun fact. So they beat ULM to win the Sun Belt West. and they're smoking cigars on the field. You and I know that's something they get from the Alabama-Tennessee rivalry. So from day-to-day operations to even how to create a rivalry, right? How to create some energy within your program. Boy, I think he's taken a lot from Saban. Doesn't mind sharing the credit either.
What years was he there exactly at Alabama? I mean, they've won so many championships. I'm sure he's had to be there for one of them. Huh?
Oh, no doubt. It was. I can tell you it was Bama and then Clemson. So he helped to do a lot of the recruiting and offensive, game planning, you would say.
Hey, okay, as far as this team, they match up with Tulane. Tulane's going to their first bowl in a while, which was against UL Lafayette. I was at that game. That was the New Orleans Bowl. I think it ended on a missed field goal maybe, with Tulane losing it. Cairo Santos, the Groza Award winner. They're playing the Green Wave again. This is a different type Green Wave team. Going in, do you know any kind of strategy they're going to have against this team? What do they need to do to beat the Wave?
Score and keep scoring. And as good as the defense has gotten under Ron Roberts, this is still a team with the Cajuns that they want to run it up and get to 30, 40. They have an opportunity to get to 50 against certain teams. They've been prolific. And we talk about NOLA guys all the time. When they come down here, Trey Regas in that backfield is a stud.
I called his games about 4 years ago when he was at Shaw. That guy just churns out yards. And I didn't know how he was going to do on the next level, but he's doing the exact same thing he did in high school.
And look, you couple him with Elijah Mitchell, second year back out of Erath. He was the state's leading rusher a couple of years ago when he came out of Erath High School. So they can run the football, talented wide receivers everywhere. I think the philosophy against Tulane is put up 40 and can you catch us?
Put up 40 and can you catch? Tulane can't score as well. I mean, I've seen a lot of their games. They've lost a lot of close games, but now they're starting to learn how to win. That'll be an interesting game. That's next Wednesday, right? I think it's the 15th.
15th.
And it's over there in Orlando. That's the Cure Bowl. Hey, if you got nothing to do this week right before the holidays, check that one out, at least on TV if you can't make it over there. Let's talk about the LSU Tigers. I know you covered them a whole lot over there in Lafayette as well. They've got an interesting matchup because they got to go against a team that's won 25 in a row. That's the UCF Knights. UCF, we know, won that mythical national championship last year because they beat Auburn, and then they have this winning streak. But there's not much upside for this for LSU because, hey, if you beat them, everybody's going to say, yeah, you're LSU. You're supposed to beat them. But if you lose to them, it's like you not only let down all the people that want to squash UCF's talk about being one of the best teams in the country, but you're not only letting down your conference almost, it feels like, you're letting down all the other Power 5 conferences because they want you to beat them. So what's the upside for Coach O and Nick Saban here? I mean, Coach O and the LSU Tigers.
It's the location. That's the only upside to me. And the fact that you're playing in a New Year's Six Bowl, the opportunity for 10 wins. Those are great talking points. Love that LSU fans get to go to the desert, take a different trip than they're used to.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, brother. It ends there because you play UCF. It is the absolute epitome of big brother, little brother pickup basketball on the blacktop. If you let little brother beat you, shame on you. If you beat little brother, you were supposed to. And even if you beat him, did you beat him by enough? So
exactly.
They're playing, I think, for 10 wins. They're playing for pride. I like what you mentioned, though. They're playing, like the rest of the nation is, to just shut UCF up. And it doesn't matter if it's Scott Frost. It doesn't matter who the head coach is. Just get out of here with that stuff. Take your success. Be happy with it. Don't try to knock Bama off of their perch. Don't try to knock somebody who actually has claimed it and earned it. Don't try to knock
ironically,
them out.
I did a game with Frost the first game of the year, and he was pretty humble about that situation. He's like, I know Bama would probably beat us, but we just want the opportunity. I think that's what a lot of the critics say, given the opportunity, and, you know, not to get in this topic deep, but I think that's the biggest argument for eight teams going to the playoff instead of 4. You can have the 5 conference champions of the Power 5 conferences, 2 at large from those conferences, and then 1 like the underdog to let them be the A seed and play Bama, which would be from one of the other conferences. Your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are Boise State in football and Gonzaga in basketball.
Yes, thank you.
To a degree, it can happen, but they're outliers, right? And eventually, to me, those programs need to move up and need to find their way into the Big 12s.
Like TCU did. People forget now that
TCU's a good one.
Was Mac. They were in the Mountain West. They've been all these. Now they've been in the Big 12 for a few years, and people forget that. But you're right. Is that what it's going to take for schools like Boise State? That's an interesting one because they've been a powerful team. They're the only team other than LSU that has at least 8 wins every year since 2000.
It's a good stat.
A little trivia for you. The only one. But they're not in the Power 5 conference, so it's a little watered down. But they've proven that they can hang with the big boys. Why aren't they in a big conference yet?
Well, you know when they proved it? In this exact same bowl situation LSU's in, when they beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl.
Called that one, by the way.
Your boy takes the Statue of Liberty, proposes to his girlfriend, the whole 9, right?
Yeah.
So that's, again, That's the same
hook and ladder right before the Statue of Liberty.
That's the parallel to me
one.
of LSU's UCF game. It was about the upside we talked about. But you're right. Why hasn't Boise moved into a bigger program? It's got to be things more than just football, right? It's got to be the totality of their athletic department, the scope of their school, the finances, the endowment, all those things. Just not there to get into the Pac-12.
Well, their star quarterback's not going to play, Mackenzie Milton, and there's Coach Josh Heupel who took over for Frost. But, hey, before I get on to the high school championships, I want to just LSU, your thoughts right now on the season, on the decision by Greedy Williams not to play in the bowl because he doesn't want to get hurt. And obviously that's a real deal. A lot of agents these days are advising it. If I was an agent, I'd say, hey, you gave your word to your school play, but I can't be negative about a kid that's trying to protect his future. But your thoughts on that? Devin White followed up the next day, as you know, and said, I'm playing, I want to play in this game, and say goodbye to LSU.
So there's a fork in the road, right? And
right.
Those two, White, Williams, took different paths, and both are right, in my opinion.
Right.
There's no wrong answer there. If you're Greedy Williams and you're going to point to the fact that you've got a daughter suddenly, and these are things that you want to take into your consideration pattern, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, who can argue that, right?
But here's my only issue. Where is the line in the sand? How big of a bowl does your team have to go to? Is it college football playoff or bust? Do you play if you're in the Final Four? You probably do.
That's the slippery slope we're talking about.
Correct.
Because now, if teams get to the Final Four, and then you do this, then you're going to have some upset people out there.
No doubt. But look, Devin White is an absolute folk hero in LSU football history.
He's like Kevin Falk.
If he wasn't already, he's going to become that guy now. So, again, there's no wrong decision for the two of them. I'll tell you this. You asked about the season at large.
Yes.
Enormous success.
Thank you. I agree. Completely.
Enormous. And I think we may see some change. I don't know if we will as far as offensive coordinator, some of the staffing things there. But otherwise, they did every single thing I think they set out to do, but beat Bama. I mean, that Georgia win was incredible. I think energized the program. What they did winning on the road, at home, neutral site versus top 10 teams, this was a success.
You just saw JT Curtis. Obviously, he's a legend. He's got, 26 state championships. We have the big dome games this weekend. There's 9, I believe, or it could be even more. I think there's 9 championships now. But he's in the Division I. That's the private school sector with all the Catholic League teams. They're going up against Catholic, a team that knocked them out last year. JT's finished first so many times, but he's got so many runner-ups as well. He finished runner-up to Jesuit in 14. He had that one last year. He's probably going to say, why are you reminding me of all this, Scott? But the fact is, the guy's a winner. What do you see about this Catholic John Curtis rematch in the Dome this weekend?
The legend in JT Curtis, and I think one of the best rising stars
we
have in the coaching profession. Fertitta's been incredible. I mean, as a coordinator, winning it under Dale Weiner a couple of years back, last year, gets his first as a head coach. I probably don't have to tell you this. Those are the first championships in Catholic High Baton Rouge football history.
I know. There's Gabe as an assistant to Weiner right there.
And again, say what you want about the split, but since we've had it, Catholic has won state championships. St. Thomas More, who we'll talk about shortly, has broken through as well. So the last 2 times Catholic has won championships, they won semifinal games at Evangel. This time, their road was a little bit easier. Rummel, St. Aug came to them. They haven't been quite as dominant in those games, but it's hard to bet against Fertitta in these situations. Look, beating JT Curtis twice in 2 years in the Dome, almost unthinkable, but I wouldn't have thought they'd have beat Rummel. And then last year against Curtis, they're on a roll.
I love both these guys, and I love both these teams, and I think revenge is a big factor. You got Catholic, I'm going to go with Curtis, because I got to live near JT too. But I love his team. That team has won, besides the 26 titles, I mean, they've won at least 10 games, 43 of the last 44 years. Are you kidding me? It's just remarkable what they've done. But this should be a great matchup this weekend. Anything else about this game you want to talk about before we move on?
Well, I'll start a theme of familiarity. You mentioned 9 title games. There's 4 on the select side. 3 of them are rematches from last year.
Yes, how great is that?
I mean, seriously, you've got 7 of the 8 teams. The only outlier would be St. Thomas More. They're in instead of your De La Salle team. But 7 of 8.
That's right. You got a good memory. That's unbelievable. Let's move on to another team from New Orleans, because we're going to get to the Big 4 games. Carr, who's been a powerhouse. They seem to always be in the finals with Bryce Brown. He's doing such a great job over there. And, of course, Warren Easton. That's been a rival for a while. How do you see this game?
This, to me, is the best of the 9 games that we've got.
Wow. All right.
And I think because of the familiarity with these two, they play in the regular season. It was a 1-point game.
Yes.
Where Easton went for 2 instead of trying to tie late.
That's right.
It has been all Carr in this series, but wow, Warren Easton's talented. Look, Lance Lejeune at quarterback, one of my favorite athletes in the state, and they're incredible. You look defensively, they got a cornerback that's committed, Chester Kimbrough, to Florida, not to be outdone. Edna Carr on the other side, a corner, Devin Bush, that's committed to Arkansas, a running back that's going to play for Frank Wilson over at UTSA, absolutely loaded with talent. The question is, can Easton break through? It's been a 3-game losing streak in these last 2 years, and they get to do it in the Dome. That should be electric.
You know, Tony Hull was their coach before, and now he's at Kansas, and I just talked to him about, you know, his former team, because I did an Oklahoma game up there a couple weeks ago, and he was hoping for this matchup, and now they've got it, and that's good. That's going to be a great one. They always seem to put out great college players. Anybody standing out in your mind right now that we need to look forward to if we're watching the game?
Look, some of the young men I just mentioned, but certainly I think the highest rated would probably be Chester Kimbrough, a cornerback on the Easton side. He's phenomenal, and he's been sticky for his prep team in 7-on-7s, going to play for Dan Mullen at Florida. So, look, SEC cornerbacks on both sides of the team.
That's crazy. And I love that word, sticky. He's been sticky. That's a perfect word for a cornerback that can cover. Hey, moving forward, the matchup that I'm actually calling for WWL is U-High, University Lab, the Cubs. I call them U-High, and they are playing the team from your neighborhood, Jim Hightower's St. Thomas More team. Listen, U-High, I did their game last year, and they were loaded. And all of those guys seem to be juniors for the most part. And they're all back as seniors. I'm talking about Christian Harris. I mean, number 36, this guy is a beast. It seems like he can play any position on the field. You got the running back Hollins, number 7, going to Virginia. John Gordon McKernan, the quarterback, he's a stud. I mean, he seems to make all the right decisions and all the right throws at the right times. And they're just loaded everywhere. Does St. Thomas More have a chance in this game?
They do, and I'm going to give you an analogy. This game, to me, is almost identical to Alabama versus Oklahoma, which we'll have as a national semifinal. Obviously, in this case, U-High is your Alabama. I think they're understood to be, arguably, the best team in the state. St. Thomas More, Caleb Holstein, like Oklahoma and Kyler Murray, they're going to score points in this game. It's a question of what happens on the other side of the football. But there's not a doubt in my mind. STM will come in, and as good as that U-High team is, their staff under Chad Mahaffey, St. Thomas More offensively is too dynamic. They're going to score 30, 31 points in this game. Can their defense keep up with U-High is a different question.
You mentioned U-High's Mahaffey. We just saw a shot there of the legend Jim Hightower, who's in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. And it's quite an accomplishment. JT Curtis, of course, is there as well. But what does Hightower bring to this? I mean, because he's the old gun, right? And then you got the guy Mahaffey, who's young, who's been winning titles, who's been getting there every year. This is quite an interesting dichotomy matchup here.
I think he brings extreme discipline, and this is a team that's going to come in. They're not going to make a lot of mistakes. He's got an offensive coordinator, Shane Savoie, one of the best I've seen at the high school level of just being the puppet master. And as good as they are with Holstein at throwing the football, and Holstein will play Power 5 football at the quarterback position. William Cryer, running back, fantastic.
Nice.
So they're dynamic. They're going to force U-High into some different situations. Certainly, you'd have to favor the Cubs, I would think, in this one.
All right, let's go one more before I can't let it go without getting the big boys. 5A Zachary, they've been there a good bit lately. They won it last year, although they lost to U-High. U-High seemed to beat every state title champion last year. I know they beat Catholic and Zachary last year, and they won it. Well, Zachary's back. They're dominating. And then you have the good old boys from up there at West Monroe, and I used to do a national recruiting show out of Atlanta on Fox, and it seemed like every year West Monroe was putting out 2 or 3 great college football players, Brady James being one of them that came down to LSU. I can name a bunch more. But what do you see in this matchup between 2 powerhouses, one from South Louisiana, one from North?
I think West Monroe has the best defense in the state.
Wow.
At any classification.
Wow.
They shut out John Ehret last week.
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing to me. And so you have to give the Rebels credit there. On the other side, Zachary, that might be one of the best.
What makes them special?
That might be. I'll tell you what it is.
Okay.
That might be one of the best coaching staffs in the state. I mean, David Brewerton is fantastic. I mean, former LSU players littered across that staff. Kendall Cleveland, Chris Carrier. They got guys that can coach up these players, and they've got a quarterback in Keelan Brown who's reminding people a lot of Lindsey Scott Jr. So,
oh, my goodness.
Look, they put up 67 at Destrehan.
I know. I know. My
game.
son covered that game for WAFB. He kept texting me because he's like, Dad, it's like 40-30 at halftime. I'm like, oh my goodness. So it ended up 67-57. Zachary puts up one. You're getting me excited. I hope everybody's getting excited for the state playoffs because I'm fired up now. Hey, I'm going to give you a couple things. You made the trip from Lafayette, upped your gift certificate a little bit, so you need to take your wife over there, double it up. In fact, if you're in town today, they're open for lunch as well. Take her today if you can, or tomorrow for lunch. We're at night. And also, how about this? We got Task Performance. Have you ever tried Task Performance?
I will today.
Feel how soft that is.
I like that, man.
I mean, I'm not even joking.
You're giving out Christmas gifts.
It's Christmas, baby. It's every day is Christmas here on Primetime Sports. Thank you, my man.
Scott, appreciate it, brother.
Hey, if you're anywhere in the Acadiana area, please check him out. What's the call numbers on there?
1037 The Game. It's KLWB-FM.
Yeah, get that plug. KLWB-FM. Hey, man, his employer let him come down here. 103.7 FM is the dial. Check him out anytime you get past Baton Rouge. You can check him out anytime or go online and do it. Ben Love's one of the best, and I do appreciate him. Hey, we just had JT Curtis earlier. Now we're going to a player. We got Tulane's doing some great things this year. They won 4 of their last 5 games, and one of the big reasons why, well, defensive back Rod Teamer. If you've seen those Tulane commercials that say NOLA built, well, he's bred here at Brother Martin, and he's NOLA built, and he's going to be here next on Primetime Sports.
I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the ties that bind, because you're mine.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. You know I love having coaches. We had plenty of them. Alvin Gentry from the Pelicans. We just had JT Curtis. We have college pro and, of course, high school level. But, man, I love having the players, too, whether they be former players or current players. And right now we got one of the best local current players that plays in the state of Louisiana. His name is Roderic Teamer. He's a safety from Brother Martin. He is a senior for the Tulane Green Wave, and for the first time, like I said in the last segment, he is going bowling, and I know he's excited about it. Tulane had to win 4 of the last 5 games, and they did it in amazing fashion on a 2-point conversion to beat Navy. And what a thrilling way to end the regular season. Now they get to go on to Orlando. I made a mistake. It's the 15th. We were right about that, but the 15th is actually Saturday. So check that. It's not next Wednesday, it's Saturday, but they'll be playing, of course, in that against the UL Raging Cajuns. And the crazy thing about that matchup is I called one of his games when I first moved back to New Orleans when he played for Brother Martin, and they played the Shaw Eagles, who had a running back named Trey Regis, who's now the star running back for the UL Raging Cajuns. So he gets to meet him again. Welcome to the show. I've been trying to get you here for a long time, my friend.
I appreciate it. I'm glad we could finally talk.
Well, you had a class schedule, so that's more important than being on TV, some would say. But hey, man, you're the whole promotion this year was kind of built around you, meaning like you being from NOLA. It was called NOLA Built. You see it right there.
Yes, sir.
You know, you had commercials. You got the talking commercials. I mean, what'd that mean to you, man?
I mean, it meant everything to me. It really truly showed me how much Tulane valued me and my image and my connection with the city, and it showed me that Tulane really wants to be NOLA's football team, college football team, and that's what we talk about on Twitter. You know, I was in the Catholic League myself, so I know there's a ton of pride from all players in all sports playing the Catholic League. And before I go back to Tulane, and just for all the Brother Martin folks out there and for the people in the Catholic League, what did that mean for you to play in that league? I mean, playing in the Catholic League was real instrumental in my decision to stay home in New Orleans. The football atmosphere in New Orleans and playing on Friday nights, I wanted to see what it would transition into on playing on Saturday nights in Yeoman Stadium. When I was being recruited, the stadium was a year in, and now the stadium has taken great strides, and they're changing things all over the campus and improving facilities, so I'm excited for Tulane.
Well, let's talk about that campus life, because you chose Tulane, you chose to stay home. Obviously, I say it all the time, what they promote, it's not a 4-year education, it's a 40-year education. I mean, not a 4-year scholarship, but a 40-year scholarship, because Tulane's going to take you places beyond, like many schools do, but Tulane takes pride in their academics, and we're taking some shots of the beautiful campus. I mean, reflect on your 4 years and think about all the good times. I mean, what does that part mean to you?
Man, I just was recently talking with Katie Morris about it. She did a presentation about the seniors, and we talked about the time spent there, and it flew by. You don't realize how much time you spend on campus and around Tulane. So I feel like next year when I'm not there, it's gonna be weird. I'm used to waking up there every day for the past 4 years and being uptown New Orleans. So.
Your 4 years there have been interesting. You're recruited by obviously CJ. Curtis Johnson, who's now back with the New Orleans Saints.
Right.
He's a New Orleans guy. He was head coach. And now you have Willie Fritz for the last 3 years. Talk about the progression of stuff on the field from your freshman year, because y'all lost a lot of close games that you had right there. You thought you'd win. I'm going to go back to the Georgia Tech game when the Ullman Stadium opened, right? Mm-hmm. And then to where they are now and going to this bowl. How sweet has the progression been?
I really can't even describe it for you. After the game, when we played Navy and we won, I just couldn't stop crying.
Right.
The emotions was just boiling over for everyone. Coming in my freshman year, obviously things change with coaching staff changes and things like that, but we really embraced Coach Fritz, and he's embraced us, and we love him, he loves us, and we play for him.
This is the shots from that Navy game, and I have to say there's the 2-point conversion, because it's all or nothing at this point. Right. Your thoughts going through your head, we saw we're going to see the catch in a second, he's alone in the end zone, but McMillan went one way, and all of a sudden he stopped on a dime and threw it the other way. That could go a number of ways, but then you had Big 88 wide open in there. As a player that's been through so much, at that moment, tell us what went through your mind.
At that moment, I just had faith. I watched the offense actually practice that play throughout the week, and I was kind of like, when are they gonna use this?
Right.
It came, and whenever I saw Justin start rolling out, I knew exactly what play they were running, and I was just waiting on Charles to be wide open in the end zone.
Hey, I'm a big Willie Fritz fan. I love him as a coach. I love him as a person, and I love what he said in the press conference. He said, "Hey, I told my AD, but we're going to run this 2-point conversion, but I want to make sure that my contract was still going to be valid." I mean, what goes through the mind of a player? Because we all say, hey, let's go for the win, trust in us, coach. But the fact is, if that catch isn't made, you're not celebrating a victory. You're going home disappointed. And we've seen it both sides so many times on so many levels, but you got it done. But what was going through your mind before the play?
Before the play, I didn't know if I wanted to look or if I wanted to pray or what I wanted to do. But I never doubted. We never doubted when we got the call to go for 2. Everybody was on the sideline into it and excited. Nobody was like, nervous or anything like that. So
nice.
I was excited for it.
You're an all-conference player, second team all-conference in the American Athletic Conference. Great conference, by the way. 3 of your teammates are all conference. Donnie Lewis, who seems like he's been there since the first Bush administration. I mean, he's been there a while.
Definitely.
Obviously, Patrick Johnson had a great year linebacker. And the guy I had on just here a few weeks ago, Zach Harris, another great player. That's 4 guys from your defense that are all conference players. Talk about what that honor means to you and the rest of the team.
For me personally, I just congratulate everybody who made it from all teams. That's a great honor to be noticed conference-wide. To my coaches took me from one level to the next and kept advancing me and my teammates as well. But I feel like without our whole defense, us 4 wouldn't be able to do the things that we do the best. So I feel like our whole defense made our conference by us 4 getting on there.
The one position I can honestly say, because since I've been back a half dozen years, since CJ took over pretty much, that's been solid the entire time has been defensive back. I mean, honestly, since I came in here, y'all they had that great class before you. Maybe it was even 2 classes before you. Mm-hmm. But talk about that lineage that you've kind of taken over and the guys that have run through. Perry Nickerson, I'm seeing on Monday Night Football playing for the Jets, and he was just in the same chair 6-8 months ago at most. It was back the week before the draft. But talk about that lineage that you guys have become a little mini DBU in a way.
Yeah, that's something that we always talk about. It started off, before I even got there, it was something they called YDB. I'm not going to say what it stands for because that was their thing. We call ourselves Roll Wave Island now, and that's something that Coach JJ and Coach Hamp came up with. But we definitely pay attention to the guys come before us, Lorenzo Doss, T. Nix.
By the way, Doss has a Super Bowl ring.
Right.
With the Broncos,
of course. Right? And also a New Orleans guy. So, we definitely pay attention, and we want to keep that going. For me, it kind of took off when we watched Perry, explode and go into the NFL, and now everybody's kind of watching Donnie to see what's going to happen with him and being the next cornerback coming out of Tulane. So I'm definitely excited for those guys.
What are your goals in the future? What's on the next agenda for Rod Teamer?
So I'm about to finish school. After school, I'll be training into the NFL draft, see what happens there.
Okay, has anybody told you anything about that? Because, the beautiful thing about the NFL, and other leagues to an extent, but the NFL, they have so many players that are there. In basketball, you only have 12 guys on a team. NFL, you have 55 on a roster, 47 active every week. That you get so many great stories of guys that are either late round picks or draft picks, and all of a sudden, a guy like Richard Sherman, who's a 5th round pick, or an Antonio Brown, is now a superstar in the league. Did you have, like, when you think about that, do you have that dream? Like, hey, man, I know I can do this.
I mean, of course, it's always been a dream to have since you were a little kid. Everybody wants to be the first pick, and but as you get older, you start to realize where you fall in line and what you will have to do personally to achieve your dream. My dream of playing in the NFL will be a different route than other people's. It's always like that, but for me personally, it's just more getting a foot in the door. I feel like I know what I can do and things that I can bring to the table and things that I can work on, and I feel like with a little assistance and guidance from my circle who's been around me, I'll continue to peak and improve.
Talk about that circle. I mean, how's it kept you strong? Who's involved in that?
I mean, first and foremost, my family, my mom, my dad, my sisters. They always on top of me about school and academics and athletics as well. Coach Fritz is obviously a huge part of my circle because Coach Fritz is my head coach, and I love him, he loves me, and he wants the best for me. My position coaches, Coach Hampton, Coach JJ. It's a lot of people that I keep close to me, and I value their opinions. I'm
gonna give you a minute to be an analyst. You're playing against the guy you played against in high school, Trey Regis, but you're playing against that entire offense. They can put up points.
Right.
If you were analyzing this game and talking about breaking it down, because I know you're starting to learn about the Raging Cajuns since obviously y'all got matched up. Right. But talk about this game in general and what do you see happening in it? Not necessarily who's going to win, but what kind of plays are going to be happening?
I definitely think it's going to be an intense and explosive game. I say this. We played them a couple years ago and went to 4 overtimes with them.
That's right.
So
that's crazy.
So definitely we all remember that. We have a lot of guys on the team. Majority of our team was still on the team when that took place. So, we felt like even though we got that victory, I mean, you can't brag on it, I feel.
That was a huge win.
It was, but it took 4 overtimes, so I don't necessarily want to brag on that. So, hopefully we can see it settle the score a little bit.
Speaking of the close games, you've been through so many at Tulane. I mean, think about even this year. I mean, the Wake game. I mean, you had it right there. And then obviously, UAB, and I could go on, SMU. Mm-hmm. I mean, and then all of a sudden now you've won a few of these. Last year it was Army at the end. This year it's Navy. I mean, you've been in an inordinate amount of close games, haven't you?
Right, yes, sir. And that's something that Coach Fritz preaches to us, and he talks about all the time. We will never come out and teams will lay down for us. That's never going to happen. You're going to get your best shot. You got to give teams your best shot, and you got to come out and expect to play all 4 quarters, even 5 if you have to.
All right, I'll give you. What's the prediction?
For our bowl game?
Yeah.
Tulane victory.
Tulane victory, that's all I need. Hey, by the way, the Angry Wave came out last year. It's a thing from the past. I love it. As a kid, I wore Angry Wave shirts. I loved it a lot. I'm an LSU grad, but I will always love Tulane because it was my first love for thing. But what's your favorite helmet? As you sign the helmet, a lot of legends have been on this helmet, from Terrence Jones, one of the great quarterbacks in the 80s, and I could go on and on. Rock Hontus, another great one. But we're going to put you on this helmet. But you have a lot of helmets and a lot of jersey colors. What's Rod Teamer's favorite? That's a weird one right there. I saw that one on the Friday night game. I'm like, what is this?
My favorite one, I definitely have to go white, all white helmet with the chrome green face mask.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's my favorite helmet combination. But for uni combination, I like the all black.
You like the all black?
Yes, sir.
Man, that powder blues looks sweet to me too, though.
I do. The one thing I'll say about the powder blue is they don't really fit as tight as we like.
They fit you tight. That's interesting. Okay, that's inside info I did not know. Appreciate you. I can't give you any of the task stuff until after your bowl game.
Yes, sir.
So we'll get your number, and I'll make sure I get it because you deserve a couple of those for sure. Rod Teamer, a great representative of the Tulane Green Wave. And listen, I can't play favorites here because I have a big audience in Lafayette as well. I just want a great game. and nobody get hurt. How about that? And how about another 4 overtime game? That'd be kind of fun too. Hey, I want to thank everybody. Of course, Rod, who's right here. I want to thank JT Curtis, the second winningest coach of all time on any level. That is nuts. And then, of course, the guy who made the 2-hour drive just to come on the show, Ben Love, to talk about all the high school matchups. And then, hey, next week, we're going to get back into the Pelicans. We're going to get back in the Saints. But this is the high school and college week. I wanted to stress that this week. So, hey, thank you, Will Hill, my producer. Thank you, Redhead Tsunami. Thank you, Naila Jones. We couldn't do any of this without you. And Ron Yeager and Jim Dotson at WLAE. And our good friends over there, Jeff Brenner and Ashley Coleman at CST. We love you all. Hey, everybody have a great holiday season. We're going to be back right here next week.